So you recently closed on your business.
Yeah, Ty, I did close on the business on 5/5, May the 5th.
Mm. Could you tell me a bit about the business?
Yeah, it's a plumbing company. It's located in San Antonio, Texas, with 48 employees. I just hired one more yesterday. Um, yeah, we needed another person for service. Yeah, it's moving. Uh, what else? Portion of it goes to servicing construction of commercial and residential customers. Residential is large houses, and commercial is not industrial. Is more like warehouses and mall strips, and yeah, and around a third, slightly less than a third, is service, which we intend to grow. hmm
Very cool. And I know you had, I don't, I hesitate to call it like a turbulent time closing on the business, but there was a lot of back and forth near the end of the transaction. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would say that sometimes things move slowly, and also obviously lenders are they scrutinize the deals and they're meticulous, especially in this economic environment, right, of higher interest rates. Yeah, obviously, in addition to the regular, documentation that needs to be provided, and all the I's dotted and all the T's crossed. So yeah, it's sometimes a little bit of, I would say, uh, not frustration, but a little bit of not knowing what's next, and then waiting for someone at the bank, uh, reviewing some documents, and then some other like third party legal counsel of the bank also, reacting, and all pieces moving. It's like multiple pieces, so that's why this, back and forth. The more familiar you get with with closings and transactions, you'll realize that this is perhaps normal. But for someone with less experience, it may sound like, oh, this is taking too long. And and the person facing you at the bank, the CSR, um, may not want to commit any dates because it requires approval from the SBA, right? In addition, of course, to the lender itself, right? So all this happen on the background, and you
Hmm.
just don't have full visibility. And they're not going to tell you, this next week is going to be, ready or whatever. Oh, in this particular transaction, something funny happened. Like the lender had like a summit back at their headquarters, so everyone was gone like for a week, and I was like, yeah, but then who's answering the phones? Well, no one. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it
That's
happened.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what advice would you give to other acquisition entrepreneurs around, especially around the closing section of the deal?
Well, I guess the main piece of advice is gain assurance, right, from the key players that the deal is a go. That's it. Okay. So, for example, um, actually, I was able um, to have a conference call, right, a video conference call, with the head of credit, right, which is one of the key persons in the approval process. This person also perhaps wanted to have confidence and getting to know me. Perhaps I'm not sure. Also because of Acquira, and they wanted to hear a little bit more. But I want to think that it was only because they wanted to know who was, borrowing that amount of money. So for me, it was a conversation of uh, making sure that they would approve the deal. And then the rest, the waiting and the back and forth. Yeah, it's like I said, it could be a little bit time consuming, even frustrating at times. But at the end, I just wanted to feel that The key people was on board, with approvals, and and you gain that information through the CSR, or try to just find the deepest channels of information possible. That's the key. That's the key. If they tell you, hey, the deal is not yet approved, or we still have questions, or it's not clear, uh, that's okay. You should know. They should tell you, right? But if they tell you, hey, you know what, everything is perfect, we're just waiting for this other person approving, but the deal is a go. Well, then I guess um, the reason why you want to have dates and all of that is also to in a way appease the seller, who's also wanting to sell, right, and waiting for the money, and also because you have um, a let's say a purchasing agreement in place, which is obviously contingent upon approval of credit, right? But um, usually it has like a due date, and you say, well, uh, for a closing on or before this date, right? So you don't want that date to extend, because then you have to amend the agreement, and the deal could fall through because the seller gets tired of waiting. They are pretty much invested, but remember that before that you had exclusivity, and you went to some you know processes that formalize more of a commitment, right? So it's not only you that want to see this deal closed; it's also the seller and the business broker, and they are adding, their share of pressure, right? That's why you also want to have this visibility. And the other piece of advice is that, well, this confirmation, the more it's in writing, the better, right? So you may remember that initially, so there are several steps that the lender will take to give you assurances regarding. This is only regarding credit, but credit is the major piece on the closing. You get the money, you purchase the business, right?
Mhm.
Or you don't. The other is a matter of negotiating with the seller, this and that, or the lease, or not a problem. Um, and remember, at the very beginning, the lender may tell you, hey, you have this you know a letter where we it's not an approval letter, but that we could borrow or lend this amount of money for an acquisition. It doesn't even include the deal or company's name, because you're still looking. This type of letter usually helps in increasing credibility of the buyer, with sellers, business brokers, and that. This is a very early letter you can get from a bank. Then there's another that is called like a term sheet, right? So term sheet is probably only to delineate, right, or present the uh, the terms of the loan, right? Like it's going to be an SBA 7A loan, 10-year, prime plus 275 or so, right? General terms and conditions, right? And then the general structure, whether that's partially for the acquisition, there's going to be a seller note, an equity injection, and the percentages, right? Hey, this is as high as 80%, right, of the deal is financed, or whether there's a secondary loan, working capital, and so on. So this is a not yet an approval letter, but a term sheet. Let's call it a pre-approval letter, right? So for example, in my case, I would not disclose the terms, right, of the loan to the seller, but I would use that information, right, redacted, to say, look, these guys are looking at deal. There's a financial structure in place. They are pre-approving. They're telling me these are the terms. So with that, you apply, right, for the loan, which is you formalize that. You pay, I don't know, 2,500, right, or so, a small packaging fee, right? And then you start formally the process of the loan application, right? Eventually, you get also that letter, which is the credit approval letter. That is a go, right? And obviously, these other steps about the SBA and this and that. But when the bank issues, the credit approval letter, that's definitely a go. Okay, and Sometimes you want to share that, with your seller, with your business broker, and say, hey, look, this is just a matter of time, right? For us to complete these, they're still asking for, business valuation, appraisal, whatever, this and that, and many other documents that they're requesting. It's a ton of documents. Yes, get used to it. Okay, so that is the best way, perhaps, to understand that the loan is a goal, and um, that there's some level of formalization, right?
Hmm. It sounds to me like the lenders are generally are the biggest bottleneck in the whole process.
Yes, yes, I would say that that's one piece. The other is the negotiation between the parties. The different clauses of the agreement, because there's, remember, a main purchasing agreement could be a stock purchasing agreement or asset purchasing agreement, but there's like a dozen ancillary documents. Okay, the bill of sale, and there's other documents that are related to that, and there's back and forth between the legal teams. The more you can have your hands on in that process, the better, because sometimes the legal teams not only cost you a lot of money, but also delay, slow down the process. So one good advice I could share here is to have, for example, a third party neutral legal counsel drafting documents. That's not a disadvantage, because that is just the drafting. You can still have your own legal team reviewing and protecting your interest, right? Whether you choose to do that yourself and represent yourself, or have like a debt, uh, or have a legal advisor, you know, representing you as buyer, that's okay. Having a neutral legal advisor drafting documents makes things faster, because the first LOI template, my legal advisor was including some language for them, or the buyer, to be drafting the documents. And then chances are, more likely than not, that language in all of the documents is going to be in favor of the buyer. And, it's more time consuming, right? They may say, oh, yeah, but it's a good strategy. It's going to protect your interests better. Well, believe me, the legal counsel, on the other hand, is not handcuffed. So they're going to push back. So
Hmm.
so it depends on how you feel, right? If you feel like, hey, let's go with a neutral counsel. I'm going to be fair anyways, right? So that's strategy I followed. It worked. Less money, less time, uh, and everything worked, perfect. Yep.
Great. Let's take it back a bit.
Yep.
How do you feel about after closing on your business?
I'm pretty excited for a couple of reasons. One is, you think that you finally got to the finish line, and actually you got to the starting line. Okay, so there's a world, of excitement, in front of you. That, okay, so in my case, was a process of I don't know, probably a little bit over 18 months, closer to 2 years, of looking at deals and turning down deals, or falling through the cracks, whatever, right? So it's certainly a process, and you feel like, yeah, finally, got to this point, but it's not the end. It's just the beginning. Okay, so in a way, I feel like a lot of excitement. The other, feeling that I just can't avoid is that I'm not stressed or concerned, in particular, because I decided long ago, and started with the end in mind, of what's going to happen in the future with the business. How long I'm going to keep it? Or is it that forever? Am I going to build portfolio? Am I going to exit? How does the exit look like? Um, After the acquisition, am I going to have Acquira, which I decided, to have, helping me with the ACE integration. So I am completely relaxed, knowing that I have the support from Acquira, and that's a very strong commitment to help me to take the company from what it is Hopefully no hiccups, right? Or no downturn, but all the way up. So I'm pretty confident, you know, because I feel like I'm nothing to fear. I'm not alone. I have people that have showed me during, multiple, I guess, talks in interviews that they have the ability to bring expertise to the table. I'm going to pay them for something that's worth, a ton more. And then the business is going to continue thriving, right? The
Hmm.
business is already profitable, but it's going to do better. So I don't have to worry.
That's great.
Yeah.
And what did Acquira provide, or what do you think you took away from Acquira throughout the whole like long process?
Hmm. I I think that it has kind of helped me reinvent myself. I have acquired a family, right? A professional family of folks I really love to work with. Okay, of partners I can trust, and the support in any area where I feel I need, because either I feel weak or I just don't have the time, or they can help me to, for example, for my next acquisition, am I going to invest another 2 years or 18 months? Am I going to do all of the, analytics, the investment thesis, right? Or, intrinsic value calculator, the presentations, all of that? Probably not directly. If a car can help me, I'll pay for that. You know, because I have more limitations in the use of my time, right? But I also have more resources to pay for it. So I have done it, right? So I know how it looks like. So if someone is going to do it for me, I can, obviously check and say, yeah, all of this, looks good, or you know what, I would like to see something else. There's something maybe missing here. I'm not yet comfortable with this and that and that. So I guess it has helped me to grow a lot professionally and become more if you will, gain a little bit of experience on business acquisition to the point where I don't feel like very experienced, but I've been successful, right? And I can tell you, the things that I have done wrong for others to, to learn and say, hey, let's be careful with this. Daniel and other guys who struggled here or did well there, right? So I love sharing that experience. So certainly, Acquire has become a partner for me that I'm going to keep for life.
All right, Daniel. Anything else you think you'd like to talk about as far as the closing of your business or advice or anything like that?
Yes, I think it's important that you look for a business that has the human capital, not only the customers, the ongoing operations, but some human capital that you can work with. Okay, that's very important. As I have been also a success coach, I have seen many businesses where the staff is really small. Okay, so business with at least 30 people would be the very very minimum I would purchase if I purchase another business, or at least the first business. Once I have this first business, with certain staff, I bolt on, you know, with 10 additional plumbers, right? And one or two staff, not a problem. So I already have that. But if it was the first deal, it was like one or two, staff members, then I would not become a business owner. I'd probably be a business operator, right? And we'll be just purchasing a job. That is very, very important, Ty. I still see people that they say, yeah, 700,000, 800,000 adjusted EBITDA. No, also look, you know, at the number of employees. They go hand in hand. Um, okay. Um, And obviously here there are variations, right? Because sometimes these, 30 people minimum could be like, hey, we have subcontractors. Well, doesn't matter, they're 1099s or whatever, as long as they are FT equivalents, right? That's it. So those things are important. um, Also, that you have an idea of what you want to do, like long term. If you want to build portfolio, if you want to partner with Acquira, if you want to divest eventually, kind of have a at least an idea, right? Develop that idea as you go through your training and looking at deals, and make up your mind. That's important, because the deeper you go, the harder to change course, right? And be prepared, because if you acquire more businesses, um, you also need to have support from other people help you manage those businesses. So then your skills are not only about business acquisition and business management, they're also about making sure you have the soft skills to get surrounded by competent people who are going to help you manage your investments.
Well, Daniel, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. I know you're busy.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thank you very much.
All
um,
right.
yeah, talk to you soon.